Hello friends, in today's video we're going to talk about an important habit or practice for people in recovery from any and all addiction, and also just something that's helpful for ongoing happiness and peace in your mental health in general. It's a dimension or an aspect of mindfulness, and we'll call it emotional awareness. I'm going to say just a little bit about emotional awareness, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to share an exercise that I encourage people to practice and engage in several times each day. So one of the core insights from my own experience in my own recovery and spiritual renewal has been the essential nature of acknowledging and dealing with our emotions. Now, denying them, telling them I shouldn't feel that, or stuffing them, ignoring them, it's just a recipe for depression, hidden resentment, spiritual bypassing, burnout. Then as it builds, people sort of let the steam off, let the pressure off by drinking or using or acting out in whatever form that might be. So an important element of the recovery experience is developing a deeper awareness of what's happening in our heart and acknowledging what we're feeling instead of trying to make ourselves feel something else. Now, in the past few years, I will say I believe I've come to terms with a different nuance, and that is we can go too far with this, so that while still valuing the emotions that we have and recognizing and dealing with them, I also have come to realize that they are fleeting. They're like waves that wash over on the shore and then dissipate, or some people use the analogy of like sitting alongside of a river and watching things flow by in the river. The emotions are the things that that come and go. The writer of the book of Psalms says that weeping may exist for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And that's just how emotions go. They come and they go. And so they're important. We must tend to them, but we are not at their mercy. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say things like, when they're struggling to come to terms with something painful, they'll say, well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to face that, because I feel like if I open that door, I'm just going to be depressed. I'm going to be crying and like never stop. But doing that work of analyzing or facing those negative emotions is essential. It's essential for recovery. It's essential for our ongoing well-being. And it can be done safely and helpfully with the guidance of a skilled counselor. But for many of us, the struggle with our emotions on a day-to-day basis is a lot more mundane. It's just things like anxiety or sadness or insecurity or shame or fear. Those are the kinds of things that we don't like to deal with, and so we distract ourselves from them, or we engage in some kind of frenetic activity so that we're so focused on this other activity we're not having to face whatever we're facing, or we numb ourselves out with chemicals or addictive behaviors. Jesus once said, it's recorded in Matthew chapter 5 in the Sermon on the Mount, he said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." And I have come to believe that addictive behavior really is our attempt to not have to mourn. Rather than deal with the sadness, with the loss, the mourning, we try to distract ourselves with addiction. And one of the skills then in long-term recovery is to develop the ability to ride the waves of emotions and face the things that we have to face with a sense of inner peace, even in the midst of the swirls of fear, elation, anger, sadness, etc. This takes time. It's part of the spiritual journey. It's cooperating with God to bring healing, wisdom, and inner resources to enable us to do this. The celebrated Sufi poet Rumi has a famous poem about the importance of welcoming the variety of emotional experiences into our lives. There's great wisdom in this poem because often these emotions have something to teach us. And so the poem is called The Guest House. Listen to what Rumi has to say. This being human is a guest house. Every day a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Okay, so how do you deal with this? How do you actually do this? Well, here's an exercise that I learned to do as part of my own growth, and now it's something that as I work with other people in their recovery and healing process, it's something that I encourage them to do at least daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And it doesn't take long, don't worry about that. So here's what you do. If you've been working for a while or you've been going along with things, just stop what you're doing, take a break from what you're doing. If you're at a desk, push yourself back from the desk, or else just lean back. And first, take a couple of deep breaths. Just breathe. And then ask yourself two questions. So the first question is, what am I feeling right now? Now, don't worry if the answer doesn't come right away. Don't worry if it's not clear. It might take a little bit of time to figure that out. We might have kind of a constellation of emotions, but just what's coming up for me when I stop and let myself pause. And then the second question is, what do I need to do about it? What do I need? And I think this comes up especially when we realize that there is a negative emotion swirling around there. Maybe we're lonely, and so we might think, well, what I should do, I should make a phone call to somebody, or I maybe make plans to get together with somebody. Or maybe we realize we're anxious about something, and so then the thing is, okay, what do I need? Well, maybe I need to take some specific little action step about that, or maybe I need to simply pray, just turn that over to God, whatever. See, what happens is if we don't deal with this, if we don't tend to those things throughout the day, they tend to build. They don't go away. And again, as they build, if we don't do something, then we wind up drinking or using or acting out. If we don't find ways of caring for ourselves, nurturing ourselves in a healthy way, we will wind up looking for things in unhealthy ways to soothe ourselves or distract ourselves. Well, I hope you find this helpful. Stay tuned to this channel for more content like this. If you have not done so already, I want to encourage you to subscribe. There's a red button below. You can subscribe. Maybe if you found this helpful, like the video and share it with someone else. And again, I'll be continuing to bring updates like this with other teaching about mental health and the role of spirituality in our mental health.